All right, so last video here, it's getting into the conflicting viewpoints part of the assessment. And this part, it only has 5 questions to it, and they're all EMI. We've taken care of a lot of our other EMI types of questions by tying in the experimental results and evaluating experimental results. Now we're getting more into those inferences and the models. And when we start talking about these models, sometimes they are graphical models, but a lot of times it's simply looking at different conceptual models, which a conceptual model, a lot of times we just think of as a way to explain a scientific phenomenon or something that you observe in nature. So in this one, we're talking about, okay, there are observations that muscles grow. How does science explain muscle growth? And we have conflicting viewpoints on how that happens. There is going to be some things that they have in common, some things that they say differently, but a lot of times these parts, again, it's fairly heavy in scientific vocabulary. And it also, is bringing up topics that you're not probably going to get in your normal classes. So, or at least not to this level. So let's take a look at the questions. EMI 201. EMI 201, it's a more simple task or more simple skill. It's just basically find basic information in a conceptual model. And this is straight to the point. The type of question you might see here with this is like, which statement did scientist X say? So it's going to be straight to the point, and you just need to find it in the reading. And sometimes that's the part of this is it's a scientific skill to be able to decipher explanations. If someone's trying to explain how science works, you need to be able to understand what they're trying to say. And part of that is a reading skill. So EMI 201, I asked, what does scientist 1 say about stem cells? This is straightforward. It tells you which scientist to read, and it tells you which topic you're actually trying to figure out about. And then you just look through the choices and see which makes sense with that topic. Again, it's only a 200 level skill, but a lot of times people get so caught up in the difficulty of the vocabulary for these sections that they just like completely give up and just assume they can't answer any questions, which some questions are very simple. Next question, EMI 302. The skill is determine which models present certain basic information. The way they frame these types of questions, the way I'll frame them, it'll say which scientists, if any, state that, and then it'll be a statement. So in EMI 302, the question I asked, which scientists, if any, state that low reps at maximum effort leads to sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. So we need to know, is it scientist 1? Is it scientist 2? Is it both of them, or is it neither of them? Which one talks about low reps leading to sarcoplasmic hypertrophy? Again, that's just comparing and contrasting the different scientists and looking for scientific information in a complex text. Next question, EMI 404, identify similarities or differences between models. The way this type of question often looks, they'll say, what do all scientists agree on? And I ask the exact same thing. What do both scientists agree on? And even your first read through, as you go through this section of the test, you should already be kind of like making little mental marks. Okay, as I'm reading through this person says this person says this. They both say this part, but they're different in these parts. And if you do that on your first read through, then as you go through and eliminate answers in the multiple choice, it'll be much easier. Next question. EMI 501 says, determine which simple conclusion is or is not consistent with 2 or more models or information in text. So basically, you're determining which statements are consistent with multiple scientists' explanations. So in this type of a question for a EMI 501, I will say, which of these statements, if either, is or are consistent with both scientists' descriptions of muscle cells and hypertrophy. And then I'll give, okay, here's the first statement. Muscles grow in response to bouts of maximal muscle contraction. Here's the second statement. Sarcoplasmic hypertrophy is the result of blood vessel dilation increasing the amount of cytosol. So you have two statements, and you need to figure out which of those statements, if either, are consistent with both scientists' descriptions of muscle cells and hypertrophy. So you need to take one statement at a time. Does it fit with both scientists' explanations? And then you go to the second statement. Does it fit with both scientists' explanations? And then you can answer the multiple choice. Is it just statement one that's consistent with both of them? Is it just statement two that's consistent with both of them? Is it both statement one or two? Or is it neither statements that both agree on or consistent with their descriptions? Okay, final question, EMI 602. This skill is determine whether new information supports a model and why. And the way this question is formed, it would say something like, when given a description of new research, determine if the results supports a certain scientist's explanation and choose the right reasoning for why. So for my example here, I talk about a researcher studying skeletal muscle hypertrophy in male bodybuilders, and they monitored their workout habits, their maximal strength gains, and the size of muscles in 10 subjects. Over the course of 6 months, the average number of repetitions performed in the bench press exercise per workout was 100. The average increase in chest circumference was 6.5 inches, and the average increase in 1 rep maximum strength in the bench press was 0.9 pounds or 9/10 of a pound. Does this finding support scientist one's explanation? Explain why or why not. So we have to have a grasp on what scientist one is saying, and then we need to be able to take those experimental results, this new information, and say, yes, this new information, this new research study matches what this is saying, or no. So you say yes or no, but then you have to get the right reasoning. So if you first say yes, you're going to have two choices of reasoning to decipher. If you say no, you'll have two choices of reasoning to decipher. And that is it for the conflicting viewpoints section of the assessment. Only 5 questions, and they're all EMI.